your opponents on the foam battlefield, no other strategy is as underutilized and powerful as the stealth option. Now, how would you do stealth in a Nerf war? Well, it kind of looks something like this, just minus the bright pink shirt. Welcome to Fuzzy Walrus Industries. I'm Walcom S7, and today we're taking a look at another Fuzzy Walrus War Room loadout, this time designated around stealth. Now, you may be kind of thinking to yourself, how the heck do you do stealth in Nerf? Well, it's actually one of the more powerful setups you could possibly use against the enemy, because nobody's doing it, and they don't really expect it. In fact, in most Nerf wars, they expect everybody to kind of be front and center, maybe using cover, maybe flanking, but they don't expect someone to strike when they least expect it. Obviously. And the best part about that is, well, if you're doing that with another kind of blaster like a flywheel or a springer, chances are after, you tag the first couple of people out, if you happen to get behind the entire enemy team, they're gonna know you're there, and they're probably going to shoot at you, and then you're kind of screwed because you probably have no place to run. But what if you're using a blaster that's very difficult to pinpoint where the darts are coming from? And believe it or not, there are actually a few blasters that fit this category, one of them being the Rebel Fair Fortune crossbow. This is a 6-dart repeating cylinder pistol crossbow thing that happens to be dead silent. Seriously, the impact of the dart makes more noise than the entirety of the blaster, and that's awesome. You're gonna hit somebody with this, and either they're not gonna realize they're out, and you can tell them after the fact, or they're just going to look down and see you and be like, oh. In fact, probably the last thing they're going to say is anything about, oh, look out for the guy behind you. But of course, this only takes one hand. Of course, you'll have to reprime it after your initial shot. It does hold 6 darts though, but that's why you're also carrying one of these zombie strike blades, or maybe even the Vantage swords. These are lightweight foam boffers made by Nerf, kind of under the Enforce line, and they're very, very useful for tagging people out, and most wars will let you use them. And this is another offensive option for you that allows you to tag people out kind of en masse. This is kind of your first option if anybody happens to see you, but this is your main workhorse. And of course, utilizing these two, it's very easy to reprime the blaster in your hand and keep using the sword and still tag people out at range. And then of course you can get in close and hit them with this. And hopefully by the time anybody realizes you, you've already got a crossbow trained on them. And with 6 darts, it's pretty good, and it's really easy to reload, especially if you're a right-hander, because the cylinder actually rotates counterclockwise, which is really useful because when you prime it after the first 2 shots, this barrel is now completely open for you to refill, and by the time it gets back over there, you've already filled up every single missing dart, which keeps you in the action. And this is very, very important. Now, obviously, this isn't any kind of crazy blaster that's going to get any insane ranges or anything like that. You have to be judicial with your shots. That's not to say that it can't reach some good distances with a slight angle, but its modification potential is very low, and really all it has going for it is the stealth option and the quick reload. But it is comfortable and cool. If you want to carry this on you, it has plenty of places on it to carry some kind of either a sling or belt attachment loop on it, or you could just carry it. And it works pretty darn well. The other major downside about this thing, as with all string-powered blasters like this, is that it really wants fresh darts. If you don't have fresh darts in this thing, you're going to have a very, very bad time. But again, since this thing doesn't use a whole lot of darts to begin with, it's pretty easy to mend that problem. And then, of course, you always have this to fall back on if anything gets bad. But of course, let's say you've already gotten a couple people out and you needed a little bit more power. Obviously, this isn't going to do it for you, but what if we had one more one-handed blaster that was perfectly serviceable for going loud and taking care of the entire enemy team when you need to? Hopefully it's a plan B, but if it does happen, you've got the good old trusty Strife, or really any blaster like this one. A magazine fed if you choose. You can also use a barricade if you prefer that, but it's semi-auto and very easy to rack off a couple of shots with some pretty good distance, with a rather big ammo reserve, I would say. Now, of course, if you're not running any kind of tactical gear, it can be really hard to carry extra magazines on you. But if you only have the one, or maybe one with another one in your pocket or something, and you only use this as a backup, this is a good option for you, because if anything does go wrong in your initial assault, it's really easy for you to just rack off a couple of shots and then go behind cover or try to get back to your team. It's a recon role, and it's very good at doing that, but it's only for the right kind of person. Now, a lot of people are saying, why the heck would you use a Strife as a secondary if your primary isn't something amazing? And to that, I answer stealth. Because the second you rev this thing up, everybody's gonna know where you are. And that's kind of a problem. In fact, even when you're using most springers, they're very, very easy to pinpoint where they're coming from, especially if they're pump action of some sort or have some kind of slide. They make a lot of noise, and it's hard to sneak up and tag out a bunch of people where after your first 1 or 2 shots, anybody else is going to instantly turn towards you. But if they don't even know they're out, yeah, that can be a problem. And this thing is very good at causing these problems. And if you need to sit at range and just kind of poke at people without using a whole lot of darts, this is good for that. Quick to reload, quick to prime, can always do it with your offhand, no problems whatsoever, and as long as you're using fresh darts, pretty darn reliable. It's a great little blaster for that, and while some other stringers may be a little more practical, like the crossbolt, they make a lot more noise and they have a lot more issues when it comes to the whole reliability segment. Overall, this is a very, very lightweight loadout that just about anybody can use, big or small, as long as you're in the right mindset. You need to have the enemy come to you and you need to exploit where the majority of their team is already not paying attention. Now, if your field has no cover and it's just an open war, you're going to have a lot of issue. If there's no cover that you can hide behind, it's not going to work for you. But if you're in an enclosed arena, you're going to have a ball. Or if you're outdoors with some large trees, it's very easy to hide behind a tree and wait for anybody to get close. And the best part is, if somebody gets in the tree in front of you and you're on the opposite side, it's very easy to reach around and hit them with your buffer. And then, of course, if you really are good, you can, of course, slap darts out of the air with your sword. It is a thing that happens, and it works pretty darn well. If your war allows it, again, this kind of depends, but you always have another option, and that's kind of the whole deal with this. If you have to switch blasters really quickly, dropping this thing on the ground, as long as it's not concrete, isn't going to hurt it so much because it has a lot of potential to just hit the prods right there, which of course aren't going to go anywhere. It will just absorb the impact and you're good to go. And you can easily switch to your Strife, which you can have in a holster if you own one, but if not, it has lots of points for either a sling or a single point attachment like a carabiner or something that you can just clip to your belt and unhook and let loose the fury. But hopefully you're doing that in a retreating option, because if you're trying to fight with just this, you're gonna have a hard time reloading, especially if you're not carrying a whole lot of magazines, and the entire enemy team is going to know exactly where you are. Again, we're talking about stealth here, but we're also giving you some options in just the fact that something happens to go wrong. That's kind of the whole name of the game here. You got to be prepared, but you also got to be smart. This is not a loadout for everybody, but you can have a lot of fun with it, and any loadout that includes a sword is a lot of fun in my opinion. Let me know what you think about this loadout down in the comments section below, and of course if you have your own loadout that you want to share with us, as long as it's based around stock blasters, please put it down in the comments section and I will be happy to take a look at it, and it may even be featured in a coming episode of the Fuzzy Walrus War Room. I'm Walcom S7, thank you very much for watching this video, and of course I hope to see you in an entirely different one.